Hi guys, welcome to Tea with P. This week we've got Indy Seera on. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Indy Seera, so I work for one of the major banks in the UK. I'm a real estate manager and basically going out and doing property deals for commercial businesses in terms of buy-to-lets, portfolio managers and commercial investment managers and property development finance.
Everything basically, everything. In quick one, where we're going to start is the stamp duty holiday. So obviously, it massively benefits first-time buyers up to 500,000 on the purchase price.
Yeah.
As long as you complete by March 31st next year. What's your opinion on it?
I think it's an interesting one. There's two ways that you can actually look at it. So the government obviously have put this payment or stamp duty holiday in. So anything to do stimulating the economy is a great thing by the government. So obviously that's a good thing. I've definitely seen a lot of increase in property inquiries, people wanting to move, people wanting to buy new, even buy-to-lets now. And that's due to the fact, obviously, there was a decent pipeline before COVID. So, that was already there. And post-COVID, there were clients looking to move. So COVID obviously slowed things down, but we already had a pipeline. So obviously this payment holiday or this stamp duty holiday is going to be brilliant for them moving. The interesting question, obviously anything to do with stamp duty and stamp duty holidays is obviously going to help the economy in a positive way. It's going to stimulate in a positive way. I've definitely seen a lot of increase from clients in terms of new purchases, even the buy-to-let portfolios. A lot of people are wanting to buy, and that's mainly due to pre-COVID or post-COVID. We already had a pipeline of people who are looking to purchase, and with this stamp duty holiday, it's actually going to keep the transactions going. Obviously, people are still wanting to move, and they're still going to do this transaction because they've actually got that break there. The long-term view on it is where do people actually see the property prices dropping? Although we've got the stamp duty break now, which obviously works out to around about 3%. So whether people see the property prices dropping a further 4 or 5%, or will they stay at 3%? So it all depends on people's personal opinions.
I was reading an article.
So it is kind of balanced at the moment if you think about it, with the stamp duty break 3%. Property prices, and it is a balanced approach, so it all depends on the desire to move. So the short term is the deals in the pipeline are still going to go ahead with the stamp duty, and obviously that transaction is still going to go ahead. The long term view is what do people think about the property prices and where they're going to be. So it all depends on what your personal approach to really.
Because you do hear a lot of articles, some suggesting the property market's going to completely drop, some say it's going to plummet, some say it's going to literally plateau. I was reading an article this morning from Sky News saying that July, so last month, was the biggest month for sales in the housing market in the last decade. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's based on stats, that's actually true. So the biggest record-breaking transaction charges. So you just kind of think, well, for now it's fine. Do you know what I mean? We've got stamp duty coming in, it's all rosy, everyone's buying left, right and centre. But you do tend to worry what's on the edge of the cliff. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. And like I said, stamp duty with the break now, it roughly works out to about 3% saving. So if the properties do drop even further, then do people hold off for that, or they carry on with the transaction? So the reason why you've probably seen the increase in the deals is pre-COVID, where people were ready to move or wanting to move, and because of this holiday, it's actually encouraged them to carry on transacting, even though the economy is probably going the other way. But because of this break, it's encouraging people to do that transaction. I mean, my next door neighbour, chatting to him the other day, he was saying he was happy he wasn't going to move, but because of stamp duty, he put his house on the market and he's going to go out and buy, and he sees it as ideal proposition to do. So like I said, there's two ways, either the long term or the short term. And short term wise, like I said, in July, where you've still got the sales in, but the long term is what's the desire to move and where do people see the property prices going.
The next big word on everyone's lips is the R word, because we're now back into a state of recession. Now, let's face it, I think it was inevitable that we're going to go into recession once the pandemic kicked in.
Yeah.
Spending was obviously going to go down. However, there has been an 8.7% growth in June. So you kind of suggest that although, yes, the last 3 months were dropping off, which obviously suggests that we're going into a recession, it's not all doom and gloom, is it?
No, I mean, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. I mean, a lot of economists are pretty much thinking we're going to bounce back. So we're going to have that kind of movement on the recession going down and bouncing back.
Yeah.
Then the other way of looking at it is obviously the COVID is affecting it really highly, and with local lockdowns, it's obviously going to affect spending power. The GDP has fallen due to lockdown and people not spending enough. I mean, each recession is different. So if you look at the 2008 recession, it was it was mainly the property market in America, but the people that got hit the most was people with properties, shares. So it's pretty much the well-off people.
Yeah.
But if you look at this recession, it's the unskilled workers, the vulnerable workers there who are being hit the most. So like I said, GDP has fallen, and obviously the lockdown could have a negative effect on it. But then the positive side of it is the government have tried to stimulate the economy or the spending power by bringing in the stamp duty break, help out to eat out, the furlough schemes, which is encouraging spending. So that's where you could potentially see the V going back up. So it's a crystal ball question. Let's see what happens.
I think also one of the scary things is, yes, you've got the heat out to help out, or eat out to help out scheme. You've got the furlough scheme, you've got the government grants, the business grants, small business, everything. Where's all this money coming from, Indy?
That's the $1 million question. So obviously the government are still borrowing money, so that is going to have a massive effect on us going on us to in the future, basically, because at some point this money needs to be paid. But then if the government weren't stimulating the economy, we'll be pretty much at our desktop. So if you imagine, all right, COVID hit, companies couldn't afford to employ the employees straight away, redundancies. So I think the government had to step in and do something to kind of relieve that pressure in the short term, but in the long term, obviously, it's going to have ramifications on it.
100%. So just to conclude, in your predictions, firstly, on the general economy as a whole, where it's going to go, I know it's difficult to predict, but I'm going to ask the question. And secondly, more tailored to you, is the housing market this time next year, for example, we're hopefully coming out the other end of things, obviously provided there's not a bloody another lockdown. Where do you see us this time next year?
Okay, my personal opinion is, obviously we've got all these schemes here, so I mean, if we look at it in a positive way, if we do have the V-shaped bounce back where we're gone into recession and we're going to go back up, then that would be great, because we can get things back to normal as quickly as possible, and therefore spending will increase, inflation will increase, products will increase, there's more spending power there, people are employed, obviously house prices will go up and carry on as we were. But personally, I think it's not going to be that easy. We touched on the fact that obviously the government borrowed money to help out in all these schemes, so that money has to be paid back at some point. So there's going to be ramifications on that. I think if the recession does continue, we may be in a depression like the 1930s, but it all depends on the big COVID-19 now, because I think with the local lockdowns, that's going to be the make or break, really.
Definitely.
So it is a crystal ball question or answer. So I mean, if we can bounce back, that would be great, because then we can try and get back to normal.
Yeah.
But it's if we can. We've had a massive drop down. I think it was something like 20% in the last COVID thing, rather than where before it was 2008 was in the last recession, so we didn't have as much of a downfall. So it does seem like doom and gloom at the moment, but we'll see.
We will see. That's it. Well, hopefully we can get back on a plane soon. Do you know what I mean? Get on next holiday.
Yeah. touching back on your housing market.
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah, so potentially housing prices could fall, and I think the prediction is for this year, like I said, 3% at least. So there could be further movement depending on how we do. I think we'll probably know more first quarter of next year, because that's when the furlough schemes are going to be coming up to an end. The stamp duty March finishes, the help actually I think the end of this month. So that's where we'll really know where we are as an economy.
Yeah.
So the house prices, if you're a buyer, if they're going down, it's a buyer's market. But if we do bounce back, then obviously, it's the flip side to that, isn't it?
Of course. Next time I see you in, hopefully it'll be at an airport.
Yeah, no, great. That'll be great. Hopefully we'll be flying out soon.
Do you know what I mean? Take care, Ian.
Have a good one. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.